everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today is another one of these wonderful days. I get to spend some more time with the amazing men of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Today, I have with me Mr. Carlos Garrido and Kendric Johnson. They are with Beta Sigma Omega chapter out there in cold Evanston, Illinois. And I am looking forward to spending some time with them today. But first and foremost, as I always do, gentlemen, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you both for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to chat with me. And with that, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. So my first opening question is always, how long have each of you been IOTA men and where did you pledge?
Polaris, you can go ahead first.
I've been a member for 4 years. I pledged with the Beta Sigma Omega Alumni Chapter, um, as I said, 4 years ago.
Okay. And what sparked at that time in your life to say, hey, let me go ahead and do this?
I looked at all of the other D9 male orgs. Some were okay, others were a little daunting and not very transparent. Um, and and I only looked at two. The other two I figured I didn't belong to because I knew I didn't fit in with them.
Mm.
The other two I was looking at, I looked at because family members were part of those orgs, but I didn't realize how intensive they were about things, nor did
Mm.
they share, um, some of the politics that went along with them. So when looking at IOTA, I felt that it was more aligned to what I wanted and what I needed from being in one of the D9 orgs.
So I'm glad you found a place you can call home there. And Mr. Carlos, how long have you been hanging out with the IOTAs?
21 years. So I have been part of the fraternity. I crossed in fall 2003 at Purdue University. I am a solo, so I started
Oh,
off with
you
the
are.
line, yeah, and I finished by myself. So, um, as far as some history of myself, so as far as the chapter is concerned, I'm one of the chapter founders. Along with me and brother Curly Adams. We have started this chapter in July of 2009, so we're about 15 years old, which is great. Just seeing the growth of the organization of the chapter itself, coming from just five brothers, having a mission together of uplifting the Evanston community to now. I think we're at like 15, 20 brothers in the chapter today. Just seeing that growth has been phenomenal. Cage has been a huge part of it and, helping us lead us in the right direction as far as the chapter itself. So
Awesome. Now,
that's it.
you mentioned that he was the Polaris. Are you the Vice Polaris?
I am not. I am a general member. I've stepped back. I
So you
let
get to
them
watch
lead.
you get to watch them do all the hard work now,
Hey,
huh?
we
And
we're just counsel at this point.
okay, well, we need everybody to give us wise counsel. Now, you mentioned Purdue. I interviewed one of your undergrad brothers a few weeks ago. He's pursuing aviation management, so it
Okay.
was good to see. Yeah, very
Yeah.
bright brother.
Yeah, he's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed when it comes to
Yeah,
organization. Yep.
that undergrad fever. So I was being nosy in preparation for today's interview, and I see that you gentlemen just crossed the line. So congratulations to the new members. Um, Let me peek in here for a minute. Is it more stressful for the guys online, or is it more stressful for the brothers trying to get them through the process?
KJ,
I
you can take that one.
I will say, since it's I think on both ends of the spectrum, it can be a task for each and every one because everything is new and the new line, they don't know what to expect or what their expectations might be. But aside from that, comes with learning curves. There are going to be times where you disagree with your brothers in the chapter about certain things, but again, it comes with learning curves. So it's a growth moment for all involved.
Mhm. Life lesson: learn how to disagree but still maintain brotherhood. Right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I guess from my standpoint, I didn't really partake too much into the intake program. Um, like I said, I let them lead. But making new brothers across the organization, it's always difficult, right? You're pledging when they're pledging. It's literally
Mhm.
you're taking time out of your day or even night to have them help them get them through the process, and making sure that you're teaching them the right information. Um, at the end of the day, it's a matter of communication and um time management. So
Time management, yeah. And I would assume that it would be a little bit more challenging when you're doing alumni because you have work and probably families and stuff like that, and you still got to learn all your material, and the
yep,
guys come through and make it happen, right?
yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And
Awesome.
I commend Brother Johnson here. He was one of the assistant deans of the line, so he did a phenomenal job with that line and making sure that they were, um, making them properly. So
Mhm. So as Polaris, everybody's always getting along, and it's easy to lead the gentleman, and they just snap in the line, and they don't give you any problems, right?
Wishful thinking. I mean, everybody's grown with their own personalities. And so I always look at it, we can always disagree, but as long as we come back as one, then
Mhm.
it's fine. It's like, again, it's a brotherhood. So, you're not always going to agree with your brother. You're not going to always agree with your brother. So
Mhm.
you can agree to disagree.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, as long as we are one accord, then
Mhm.
we're justified in understanding that we we have a difference of opinion.
Okay. Okay. Now I might pitch my next question to Carlos just because you've been around a little bit longer. Now I had the pleasure to spend quite a few weeks with the IOTAs now doing these interviews. And I realized before I came on with you gentlemen that I have yet to ask any of you to run down the history of the organization. So, ta-da! You guys are it. So could you explain how Iota Phi Theta got founded and all of that stuff? Just a brief rundown.
do you want to take that, or you want me to?
Sure, she pitched it to you anyway. So
Okay. You're fine. Yeah, so Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated was founded September 19th, 1963, at Baltimore, Maryland. Morgan State College, which is now known as Morgan State University. Um, we were founded during the civil rights movement. So as far as the other organizations, they were already well established in terms of their architecture, how they wanted to pursue within their organization in itself. Us, we were founded differently. So we were founded, like I said, during the civil rights era. So as far as the you know a lot of it was very when we were first initially founded, we were founded under the militant mindset. So outlaw has been a big thing that we've done. We like to be different as far as the organization in itself. And then we really harp on as far as fraternity as individuality, being your own person, regardless of any individual differences that we may have, right? So um, that has been the biggest, input as far as us being an organization. Obviously, you don't want to conform to other people's stereotypes. As an iota, I'm different from what KJ is, as far as from his personality. We really strive on just being our own selves and not having to conform to other stereotypes like the other organizations.
Beautiful, beautiful. Everybody can be an individual, but we can still be collective in the process as well. Awesome, awesome. So, since you pledged at Purdue and you're now in the alumni chapter, what do you think is the biggest difference between being an undergrad Greek versus a alumni Greek?
Well, I think from my standpoint, it's I mean it's you're always committed as far as the organization, right? So you pledge your commitment to the fraternity, and you always want to be as active as possible. From an undergrad standpoint, you're balancing school, maybe sometimes work, and also your social life within the organization. Coming from an alumni standpoint, depending on where you are within your career, profession, even just life itself. You might have kids, be married. Just trying to balance everything has been a little bit, obviously, you need to focus on what is more important, right? And also it's, just having to make sure that the brothers that are active in your organization make time for themselves. Because a lot of times when you're an undergrad, you're either school, frat, family, not in that specific order, but you're always focused on what can you do to make your chapter better. It's different when you're in a grad because you got more focused on your family and career than you are the organization. But trying to still keep that North Star, in front of you to make sure that from a fraternity standpoint, you're pushing it forward. And just overall, like I said, time management has been big. And just making sure that you're still committed, even though you're very much sometimes spread very thin.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I don't think people understand, because they see uh the letters and they see, the good times, but they don't understand it's a lot of work. It is about service that D9 is. So I just wish that people would really understand the bigger picture a lot of times. So um you gentlemen are in Evanston, Illinois, and I think I saw that there was quite a few alumni chapters spread around Chicago area. Do you guys get a lot of opportunities to kind of work together, or I'm not sure how spread apart everybody is?
Yeah, we were actually working together on yesterday. We had um breakfast with Santa. So as a Chicagoland IOTAs, we were all together working together for a school that we adopted. One of the members from our chapter, Brother Curly Adams, spearheads this every year along with his wife. There are some Delta Sigma Theta members who help participate, which his wife is a Delta, of course. And we all come together. There's a list of children that happen to be divided amongst that Chicagoland area of IOTAs, and we purchase coats, um, shoes, whatever the case may be, uh, a toy for the child as well as pajamas, and that child receives that. Um, there are other things. There's a little raffle that's done in the morning, along with them having after breakfast pictures with Santa, and it's a great event of us coming together as one.
Okay, beautiful. Now, you just got through talking about some of the service work that you gentlemen are doing for Christmas. And I'm thinking about the fact that you gentlemen did just cross a line. So that means there's more hands on deck to do the community service work that needs to be done. So in 2025, what will we be seeing your chapter doing? Where will we see you in the community?
Good question. Definitely more service. February is going to be very busy, because there are a lot of us that work in education who are having a D9 events at our respective schools. So that's one community service project as a whole that, again, all of the D9s are invited to participate and have a voice to be a part of something. Um, and leading the community in showing children what it looks like to be unified and making sure that all are represented. Um, Along with that, I mean, we're definitely organizing a few things for fathers. Um, there's also another component to that where we are part of the Good Health Wins organization, where there's projects that we work with them to do, um, events for medical support and things of that facet of nature as well. So we're definitely making sure that we try to cover all those things, but making sure that we make, as Brother Garrido said, make time for ourselves and our brotherhood as a whole.
Yeah. So you guys have mental health days as well? Is that what you, okay, all right. That's
Yeah,
a,
like a few other programs that we're looking at doing within the 2025 is um, the money. what is it called? We call it it's I forgot the name of it, but it's a program that we're doing with up and coming seniors and juniors in high school. So we're trying to have a forum probably around the October time frame of next year, to where we're going to help with admissions, financial aid, just how to kind of navigate around that process, because not everybody does. We have a few brothers that are part of the admissions leadership within like UIC, University of Chicago, Chicago State, and then so those are kind of the big things that we're looking at later next year, to kind of help with obviously getting kids to college, because a lot of times you're kind of thrown into it and you don't know what to expect. So having that guidance and through that journey is going to definitely be helpful to make sure that they get into college, B, they know how to navigate around financial aid, because it's never fun and it's not easy. You don't find out until you finish school how much you owe. So like just that, things to think about. Scholarships are a big thing, obviously, and these are kids; they don't know what they don't know. So that is definitely a program. I think we're looking at probably a October timeframe.
Awesome, awesome. These kids today have it so easy. I remember freshman year, sophomore, all throughout college, having to stand in those long lines for financial aid. Now these kids just sit on the computer. They don't have to wait. Like it's like, man, you got it easy. I don't hear no complaining at all. But still, the process is overwhelming, because you're looking at like, I need money for what? I need money for what? I thought I was just gonna have a good time. No, no, no. We need some money. So let me just, because both of you kind of hinted at this, and let me just segue for a minute, and I'll get back on. Um, you are an educator,
I am.
okay?
I am not.
You're so I'm going to pitch this question to Kendric here. Everywhere we're hearing north, south, east, and west, we're hearing that public education is in some sort of massive crisis situation. If you had to say, as an educator, well, first of all, let me give you kudos, because there's not too many men in education in the first place, and we need more of you there. So let me just give you that props right there.
Thank you.
But if you had to say like one or two things that we could possibly do to turn this car around, because we need our kids in school. I mean, we can't to have young people not educated is a very scary thing. So what would you say we would need to do to turn this car around?
One, we need parents to be active. That's number
Okay.
one. And I work from pre-K to second, so I'm in early childhood, and you don't see parents. You rarely see them, and that's a big issue that we face. That you don't see parents coming into schools like they should. They don't answer phones. So you need parents to be parents. So every day I'm the father, the counselor, I'm the referee. I do it all. And no parental support most of the time. So when you see them, it's about somebody said something negative to their child. So we need that. Um, we we need support, whereas there are more teachers coming into the education because there's a lack of teachers in education. Um, and I think another thing will be that they need to look like who they're teaching.
Mm,
We don't have teachers that look like us.
mhm,
And that's a big problem.
mhm,
I would say that we will need more males in early childhood, but most men don't like to deal with small children because of all of the conditions that come
mhm,
along with it. The stereotypes that, you know, that you're just a babysitter. And that's how some people look at people in early childhood, that you're a babysitter.
mhm,
But aside from that, if they look like us, then they can relate to us. But they don't. So you get people coming in who can't deal with some of those things that
mhm.
come with coming from
The cultural
the
differences.
yeah, the cultural
Gotcha,
differences
gotcha.
and the biases that comes with that. So those few things encompass what I think should be part of what education looks like. Um, and then it benefits the children a little bit more, because then teachers can relate.
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm just curious, what is the population of Evanston? Is it more people of color or not?
I think
Um,
it's more of a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
yeah, because now you have all of the immigrants that are there. Like I had two in my classroom. I don't speak English. I mean Spanish, I'm sorry. I don't
Mm-hmm.
speak Spanish. Um, very little.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, even though I'm getting an endorsement in ESL, I can teach you, but I can't speak your language because I'm not
Gotcha.
bilingual. But
Gotcha.
we have teachers who are bilingual, but they have their own classrooms. So we have no one coming in and out on a daily basis to support those children. And it looks weird pulling out your phone every day, allowing
Google
them to
Translate.
speak to you to figure out what's going on. And you still have children who are in these classrooms with behavior issues. Um, you have the children who have IEPs that you have to accommodate. So you're accommodating all of these children by yourself every day, besides the few times that the special ed teacher comes into the classroom to work with only that special ed child that he or she has.
Okay, so we need some more resources. We need some more. Makes
Yes.
sense. Okay, okay, all right. Well, let me get back on track because I can. I was born in North Carolina, so I can talk for a while. So let me make sure I focus here and circle back. So keeping in line with the conversation of children, one of the phenomenal things that I know Iota does is you work with St. Jude's in some way or another. So
Hmm.
how does that play out for you gentlemen in Evanston, or does it?
We just did a St. Jude walk
Oh, it's a
uh,
walk.
um a few weeks ago. No, probably about a month ago.
September, October time frame, I
Yeah.
believe.
So we did the St. Jude walk. The Chicagoland IOTAs come out to support, and I'll walk in that. We also make contributions directly to St. Jude as well. Um, and it's a good time because then you see other D9 orgs there as well.
Now, Carlos, once again, because you've been around for a while, so I'm pitching these questions to you. What is the challenge about keeping the brothers engaged? Because you know we have a problem sometimes with folks falling off.
Sure. I think a lot of things when it comes to engagement, it's, a lot, it's always going to be at the end of the day, what's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
That at the end of the day, yes, we love our organization, but how is it impactful for me in my life at this point in time? Like I can tell you right now, like me and my wife, we don't have kids yet. That's a plan in the future, but obviously, when that does happen, I'm probably gonna at that point take a step back even further. Like my brother's an Iota as well, in Atlanta. He has three kids now, and he's at the point of I need to focus on my family, things like that. So it's really just based off of what's in it for me, what are my priorities, but also what are we doing within our respective communities to be able to make sure that we make an impact. Um, I think the biggest thing that almost every organization probably runs into is, are your check-ins, the brotherhood that we aspect of it of, hey, what's going on? How are things going? A lot of times from a business standpoint, we're always thinking, what's the next event? What are the next of things that we need to do to be able to push our chapter further? Um, Sometimes it's the small things like just checking in on brothers and seeing how things are going because a lot of times brothers keep things to themselves. They don't tell people just
Mm-hmm.
because they're so they want to keep it private to themselves. So even just like I did the other day, I text one of the brothers that are in our chapter, hey, how's things going? What can I do to help? I mean, I'm here for you, just to kind of just be that ear, um, in case there's any things that we can help with. Because a lot of times, like I said, we're so focused on the business part of it, we forget that hey, we are a family, we are brothers, and we need to support each other, regardless of if it's something that we know about or not. So,
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's so important with the brotherhood. Now, you just mentioned that you and the wife are, considering some children in the future, and we know you will step back then. But before that happens, we got to get it all in before that happens. What would you like to see happen at your chapter? What growth would you like to see before you pull back a little bit?
I think the biggest thing, so we've grown exponentially, right? So I think since 2020, when KJ and his line crossed, we've had a line every year. So it's been huge. Just being able to bring new brothers into the organization, new blood, new ideas. That's been huge. Uh, I think the one thing that I would like to see from my standpoint is us to win the Tony Watson Award, which in the fraternity it is the graduate chapter of the year. So we've ran into it a few times. Obviously, we haven't received it yet, but with the work that we're doing, with
Yeah,
the
I'm
new
looking
members
for it.
that we have, yeah, we're I definitely want to see us eventually get that award.
Okay. Okay. So chapter of the year, what goes into you guys getting chapter of the year?
A lot of it is community service based.
Okay.
So community service funds, just impact within the organization. Obviously, social media has a lot to do with that as well. Just because that's how we highlight, how we do as an organization, other events, things like that. And also just like reporting the hours is kind of the big thing, making sure that we're not only doing the impact but recording it and documenting it. Because a lot of people we do community service events, but sometimes we don't you know put it in the system or we forget. And I think that's going to be huge for future recipients of this award. And I think we've been doing a really good job of documenting what we have and being able to put in what we can, and just making sure that not only do we see it, but the organization sees it as well.
Beautiful. That social media thing, I mean, I have a love-hater relationship with it. So bless anybody's heart who manages to keep up with social media, and especially for a chapter, I can imagine that would be overwhelming. So I would assume that would be a recruitment question. Are you good with social media, brother? Okay, come on in here. So that would be one of the questions we ask. So reflective question for both of you. Before I think that's my last question before I ask my random question. Reflective, and you've been in the game for 4 years, and you've got decades here, sir. How has the Brotherhood, Iota Brotherhood, impacted your life?
As for me, I have been in Chicago for 7 years. So I'm originally from Mississippi.
Country
Um,
boy.
yes. So, as someone who does not have any family necessarily here, it has been impactful because I have brothers who I can rely on and call on when I need something. I can give you one example would be that my mom has one of my line brothers' phone numbers. She could not reach me. I was doing laundry. Um, and she called him. She called a childhood friend of mine, and she was ready to call 911. And she called him and she asked him to come over. She didn't make him, but she asked him to come over to do a wellness check. Um, I was fine either way, but he drove all the way over to check on me. Um, if I didn't have that, then she would be worried to death and calling the police to come have them to kick the door in. But, you know, again, I have that brotherhood where they are there to support me and
Mm,
I'm vice versa. So it's one of those things that it's a twofold um, thing that occurs for me. So I found a niche where I am in alignment with an organization that, or a chapter rather, that supports, makes sure that they do those things as a brother would do for you.
do you have biological brothers?
I do, but he's down south.
Oh, okay. But your brotherhood here is probably if it's important or more important than.
Yes.
Okay, I kind of hear that. All right. An impactful moment for you?
Um, Impactful moment, or what has the fraternity impacted me?
How's it impacted
Okay.
you?
So being in the organization for being in the organization and active for 21 years has taught me a lot of things, right? Coming from Purdue, it definitely taught me a lot of business acumen, how to time manage, how to deal with politics within an organization, and also within my professional life as well. Like, I've learned a lot when it came to working with individuals and making sure that from a business standpoint, it relays over to my professional career. As far as impactfulness for the organization, it's been a great experience. Being having to reactivate my chapter when I first started. So I reactivated it in 2003. I am not African American or Black. I'm Filipino. So having to recruit other members into a Black fraternity when you're also not Black made it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, Filipinos are Black. Come on now, you just everyone I've met.
So it definitely taught me like a lot of skills of working with individuals from a professional standpoint, but also building people into the organization that are already part of it, right? So like having to be that mentor or having to give feedback in terms of um, things that you don't necessarily agree with, but you give them the why. And sometimes they agree with it, sometimes they don't. But at the same time, you guys are brothers. You guys move forward with what the North Star is. Um, I've met a lot of great people within the organization. A lot of obviously my brothers are part of it as well. But like I have a lot of great friends that I've met throughout my experience within the organization. A lot of them were my groomsmen. So just having that brotherhood and bond of Iota has been phenomenal. You learn a lot throughout your time within the organization, but at the same time you gain brothers that you would have never met outside of the organization. So
I love it. I love it. I just don't think people understand the larger family structure that's kind of incorporated into that. So will we well, you say you're going to have a baby and step back, but will we see any of you state, regional director, whatever, something?
that's KJ and Ken.
Mhm.
Um, no, I don't want that part. I think that's a little bit more time consuming as it is. So I'll let someone else handle that. I'm good with being local and with the chapter.
A lot of good leadership in Iota I've seen. So it would be nice to see, hey, a couple of years from now, say, hey, I had a conversation with those gentlemen. Look at them
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the good thing about IOTA that I love is that we can put our fingerprint within the chapter, not only the
Mm,
chapter but in the organization. So what you put into the organization is what you get out of it. That's the biggest thing for me, and that's what I've learned growing up within the fraternity. That the experience that you get maybe will always be different from everybody else, but it's really a matter of what you put into the fraternity or sorority at that whatever you're involved in, you'll get that out twofold or
mm,
tenfold. So you always want to make sure that you're putting in your best foot forward. um and you'll learn along the way. I learn every day within the fraternity. um you know I'm 21 years in, there's never going to be a situation where I don't learn anything, so
mm, mm.
it's going to
One
be
last
huge.
question. One last question. For a young person, a young man, 12, 13, 14, looking at you gentlemen, say, one day I want to wear those letters. What advice would you give a young person to set themselves up to eventually become an iota man?
Um, Being that I work in education, I'm always going to wear some sort of para every day. Um, and at my school, there are two alphas. There's a kappa, sigma gamma rho. So we have a mixture of people there, but I'm always in some sort of para. So the principal always says to me, "Don't be trying to recruit my students to join your org."
Get them
But
young. Get them young.
but it's important for them to make decisions on their own. However, I always say this is an organization that I love, and I would never say anything negative about it. If I did, it wouldn't be directly to them, it'd be to other brothers. But I make sure that children understand that when they ask me, because on my desk there's an iota, the Greek letters on my desk, on my wall. So they're always asking, what do those letters mean? So during downtime, we discuss things. So hopefully in the near future, those second graders that I have now, um, 10 years down the line, look me up and say, hey, I want to be a part of your organization. What do I need to do? And rightfully so, I will write them a letter of recommendation for this organization.
It's called mentorship. It's called mentorship.
Yes,
Some
very
people
much
might
so.
say recruiting, but we call it mentorship. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carlos, any of
So the question, what does
what would a young person, what advice would you give a young person to kind of set themselves up on the path to eventually hanging out with you?
I would say be active
Mm.
in your community. Make a difference. Any difference is any change is a good change. Just be as active as possible within your community. Learn as much as you can. Um, you know, Obviously you're going to want to do research on all the organizations. Make sure it aligns with your beliefs and your thoughts. Um, but in order for you to be, you know, within the considered to be part of a member of the organization, is you need to be considered active, and just be uh, av- available with the intent of making a difference is going to be the big thing. We want leaders, so
Yes, you guys are strong in leadership. I've had, and let me be transparent. I've told a lot of you as I've had these conversations. I went to UCLA. 87 I started, so you gentlemen were about 20 years old at that particular time. Not a heavy presence on the West Coast. And now at 55, I told you I was 55. I still have not seen one of you gentlemen in person, but from my experience talking to you, just the leadership skills is just phenomenal. So I mean, I am so impressed to not even
you'll run
see.
into us eventually.
One day I will. I'll
Yeah.
have to be intentional about it. I'll have to be intentional about it. So let me ask you my random question, and then I'm going to ask you to, if I could trouble you to tell us how we connect with you, social media wise. But let me see what I've got here. Let's see what we got here. Random question. What was your favorite class in high school?
English. Loved English.
Okay, kindred spirit.
Yeah.
You went to Purdue. It has to be something technical,
Yeah. Well, you
science,
said high school.
high school. But
You said
before
high
that, you
school.
had the pathway to Purdue had to be.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my degree is in biology. So I mean, I would say biology probably was my favorite. I'm not using that degree anymore.
This is
um,
how college works, right?
that's usually how it works. So I would definitely say physics probably was my favorite.
Oh, such a geek.
Yeah, yeah,
Physics.
yeah.
Such a geek. Okay. Said with love. All righty, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
So tell us how we connect with you if we're ever out your area. Want to check in on you guys, Facebook, social media. How do we catch up with you?
Yeah, I would say the best way to connect with us is follow us on Instagram. So it's BSO_iotas is our handle for Instagram. Our Facebook page is Beta Sigma Omega Alumni Chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. I know that's a lot to read off. So I mean, those are the main social medias that we actively use right now. We are starting to look at other avenues such as TikTok, if it's still available
I know, right
after January 20th. And other aspects of social media.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you making time to talk with me and share your input. I'm just so tickled. I mean, don't tell the rest of the D9, but I have really enjoyed my time with the IOTAs, especially never seeing you. You guys are just just phenomenal men. And I have learned in doing these that every fraternity has their own personality, I would say, but you guys are just awesome. So just kudos from little old me, and keep on being amazing and doing the work that you're doing and having the impact that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.